When we talk about gender equality, many assume that the push for women's empowerment in India is a modern idea brought over from Western democracies. Today, Indian women make up 43% of graduates in science, technology, engineering, and math. They are running research labs, operating agricultural drones, and launching tech startups. This modern progress represents the reclamation of a 3,000-year-old cosmic truth, a time when feminine energy was viewed as the ultimate driving force of the world. To understand where India is heading tomorrow, we have to look at the ancient philosophy that is pulling it forward. 3,000 years ago, during the early Vedic period, Indian society operated with a high degree of balance between the sexes. Women in this era lived as educated intellectual equals, moving far beyond domestic duties. These female seers and thinkers were known as Rishikas, and they occupied positions of immense authority. We see their influence in women like Ghosha and Apala. They composed sacred hymns in the Rig Veda, one of the world's oldest texts, praying directly to the gods without needing a male priest to speak for them. This intellectual rigor continued for centuries. A philosopher named Gargi famously stood in a royal court and challenged the greatest male sages of her day, debating the very nature of reality and the soul. Early Indian civilization recognized women as the architects of cosmic truth, moving beyond simple tolerance to institutionalized female intellectual power. This social freedom was rooted in a spiritual concept called Shakti. It is the idea that a primordial feminine energy sustains everything in existence. This diagram shows how ancient thinkers visualized reality as a partnership between two forces. At the center sits a still, quiet core, representing masculine spirit. Encircling it is a dynamic, expanding energy field, representing the feminine force of nature. Philosophers called this division between the observer and the creator Sankhya dualism. In this system, the masculine spirit is a passive observer. It cannot create or move on its own. It requires the active feminine energy to actually build and animate the universe. This philosophy reached its peak in texts like the Devi Mahatmya. In this story, the major male gods realize they are powerless against a cosmic threat, so they surrender their weapons to a supreme goddess to restore order. In this foundational worldview, the feminine principle stands as the indispensable engine of existence. If women were once seen as the ultimate cosmic power, how did they become relegated to the shadows of society for so long? This monumental shift was driven primarily by survival. During the medieval period, a wave of foreign invasions and constant warfare forced communities to restructure themselves in a state of high alert. To protect girls from the violence of war, communities began marrying them off as children. This locked them into domestic life and cut off their access to education. Systems like purdah followed, physically isolating women within their homes and removing them from public life entirely. It was a tragic historical irony. A culture that worshipped the universe as a goddess had reduced its mortal women to subjugated dependence just to endure the era's geopolitical chaos. This buried philosophical truth was reawakened by the struggle against British colonial rule in the late 19th century. Nationalists created the symbol of Bharat Mata, or Mother India, by blending ancient goddess worship with the modern need for a unified nation. Leaders began treating the soil and rivers of the subcontinent as a living, suffering mother goddess. This imagery turned a disparate population into a family of devoted children fighting for her liberation. This feminine principle became the spiritual heartbeat of the independence movement, winning back the nation's sovereignty. Today, the state explicitly frames its goals around Nari Shakti, or women's power, directly echoing these ancient ideas. When India reached the moon in 2023, the landing site was named Shiv Shakti, linking the absolute pinnacle of modern science to the ancient partnership of masculine and feminine energy. On the ground, a historic new law has guaranteed a 33% reservation for women in the national parliament. A paradox remains. While 43% of STEM graduates are women, their workforce presence is stuck around 25%. The cause is time poverty. Indian women spend over 7 hours daily on unpaid domestic work, a structural weight left from centuries of isolation. True empowerment comes from dismantling that weight, allowing women to reclaim the intellectual and spiritual sovereignty their ancestors exercised 3,000 years ago.